Uh, I don't really want to spend too much time on the Russell Brand case, but as it keeps coming up, I think I need to follow through some of the comments. Jimmy Anderson, bowling genius, says, "Sorry, Prof, but having followed most of his career, that's Russell Brand's career, when I first saw his very first Big Brother's Big Mouth, I can believe his guilt. There is an interview which is hard to find where he jokes about something I can't think doing something to women anyway, and he is certainly critical of de-establishment. He said quite a bit. Then he was demonetized on his platform before any court case. What do you think of that?" Moonscarf says that the establishment didn't monetize him. Anyway, the issue really here is the interplay between the media and the courts. And in any civilized legal system, the principle is clear. The accused is innocent until proven guilty. That's the modern legal principle. And the principle isn't decorative, it's structural. And it upholds the idea that the burden of proof lies with the accuser, not the accused. And but in high-profile cases, especially those involving public figures like Russell Brand, this principle comes under siege. And what unfolds is not a judicial process, but a trial by media, and this is not a trivial concern. Now, the other thing is of course, people pick up expressions and take them out of context, so they start to mean something slightly other than what they were intended to mean. It shouldn't matter how repulsive we find someone. Justice is not a popularity contest, nor should it matter how admired they are. The legal process must remain indifferent to charm, celebrity, moral standing, or past misdeeds. Yet we now inhabit a media landscape where allegation becomes evidence and reputation becomes verdict. And in the case of Russell Brand, accusations have emerged. The legal system may yet determine guilt or innocence. But long before that process concludes, long before, indeed, as we can see, before it even properly begins, the media ecosystem has already begun to digest, to judge, to broadcast its findings. And the man becomes the spectacle and the allegations become the assumed truths. And he is asked to defend himself not in court but in the court of public opinion, where there are no rules of evidence, no cross-examination, no presumption of innocence, and the burden of proof shifts wrongly from the accuser to the accused. And that inversion is dangerous. It recalls, I think, the fate of Oscar Wilde, who began as the accuser but found himself the accused and was ultimately imprisoned. And the matter became not about a legal question, but about reputation, about public morality and perceived deviance. And Wilde was not judged solely on evidence, but on who he was: flamboyant, non-conforming, discomforting. That's not justice. That's theatre. And it was brilliant theatre then. And that same theatrical impulse now drives what passes for public discourse around cases like Brand's, like Trump's in America. The legal system demands restraint. The media thrives on exposure, and the court moves slowly and deliberately. And I think, as we've seen recently, extremely slowly in the UK, so that there is a backlog, which puts the Home Office immigration dalliance it makes it look virtuous. The legal system is slow in Britain. The court moves slowly and deliberately. Social media demands instant condemnation, instant gratification, and the courtroom asks what happened. The internet asks whose side are you on? And to tell the internet to behave other than it is really to start giving orders for a scorpion not to attack. This is not a defence of Russell Brand, the man. It's a defence of the legal principle that even the worst among us, perhaps especially the worst among us, must be treated with fairness, because the alternative is that none of us are safe. If guilt can be assumed from reputation, then innocence becomes a privilege, not a right. And we must resist the drift into spectacle, and we must resist the anatomization of what is said on social media to see whose side you're on, to see which tribe you belong to, where the accused is tried not by headlines and where the accused is tried not by law but by headlines and hashtags. And until proven guilty in a court of law, Russell Brand, like any other individual, remains innocent. And while that may be very difficult to establish as a principle in the social media age, that is not naivety, that is civilization. Civilization, look at the word. Civilization comes from the Latin word for the people who live in a city. If you live in a city, you do politics. A city in Greek is polis, from which we get the word politics, from which we get the word polite. And civis is the Latin equivalent, the citizen, from which we get the word civilization. To be civilized is to live in community with people who you don't know, to follow rules of law that provide fairness and restraint. But that's not social media. And I find it dreadfully worrying how social media plucks things out. Now, one solution is to say you don't discuss anything. You don't even raise the name of Russell Brand. This is absurd. This is to live in some sort of cave and pretend the world stops. That isn't realistic. But to try and comb through videos to try and see which side you're on, this is nonsensical too. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And you can go through to some of these great works of detective fiction, and somebody is proven innocent at the end of a court case, not because they are a nice person, in fact they're not, but because they are actually innocent of that particular crime. And I think that tells us some of the greatest Agatha Christie is about people who are not nice. But the law and crime are not about popularity or about being nice. They're about being right and being and the law is there to protect the societies, to protect the city. In the end, that's more important.